Right, let's talk all things royal now. It's been over a month since the Queen's death, and new details have emerged about the King's coronation.
Yeah, in what's being called Operation Golden Orb, the new monarch will reportedly favour a slimmed-down ceremony with fewer rituals. Royal broadcaster and historian Rafe Heydel-Mankoo joins us for more. Good morning to you, Rafe.
Good morning.
So, how much of a slimmed-down ceremony is this going to be?
Well, you know, the coronation ceremony is one of our great contributions, I think, to civilization. You know, it's up there, as far as I'm concerned, with the works of Shakespeare and with, you know, Turner's paintings. It's such an exquisite ceremony. Normally, for the Queen's coronation in '53, which was based upon those of her father and grandfather, George V and George VI, it was around 3.5 hours. Now, we're told that the current plan is to have a coronation ceremony of only around an hour or so.
Are you outraged?
Well, you know, let me just put it this way. We list our heritage buildings. We have Grade 1 listing for the Houses of Parliament. I think the coronation ceremony deserves Grade 1 listing. I used to be a friend of the Maharaja of Drangadra, a wonderfully erudite old Indian prince, the last man to rule his kingdom before independence. Wow. And he was a very erudite man, scholar in Hindu stuff and Judaism and Christianity. And one of the plans here is, of course, to make the coronation service more diverse, more representative of modern Britain. But he wrote to me in 2010, and I just want to quote what he said. He said, "If the coronation ceremony in its traditional form and all its glory is abandoned, I shall mourn its loss as an exquisite part of our world heritage. It would be like the wanton destruction of a national or indeed a world monument, say Stonehenge or the Taj Mahal." And that's someone who's a Hindu prince, not somebody who's British or Anglican. Yeah. There is a beauty to that coronation service. We're the only people in Europe to actually crown our kings. Nobody else actually places the crown on the head or has the anointing. It's a very important tradition and an important ceremony, and I'm just slightly wary of these attempts to try to make everything seem to be relevant to the modern age. Some things actually are timeless.
Do you not think that the King is mindful of all of that as well, though? I mean, he's not somebody who wants to take a sledgehammer to the monarchy. He just wants to be respectful of the mood of the nation who are struggling to heat or eat in their homes. He doesn't want to be parading his wealth in a way that, you know, is perhaps unnecessary. But at the same time, he will want to make sure that the crown gets the coverage and admiration and pomp that it deserves.
It's certainly not my place to criticise His Majesty, and I would never want to criticise His Majesty. But my comments are merely sort of suggestions for his advisers, perhaps, to take on board at these early stages. But you know what? It's at times of gloom and doom that we actually need these sorts of occasions to unite the nation. We saw that with the wedding of the Queen in 1947, just after the war. We saw that with her coronation. They galvanised the nation together. And I think this coronation could actually serve to much that end. And, of course, who are the critics? The Owen Joneses of this world are a minority, actually. I think people overestimate the criticism that will be there. The great unsung people of Britain, I think, would love this.
Yeah, I guess for King Charles, it's about reaffirming and establishing that really solid connection with the people that his mum had. And so, in doing that, would you say that that connection is more important than the pomp and ceremony of a coronation?
Oh, absolutely. It's more, without the support of the people, there is no monarchy. But we've seen the King fulfil that excellently in the first few days after his mother's death, when he went out to Scotland, to Ireland, to Northern Ireland and to Wales, connecting with the people and ensuring people realised he was a king of all parts of this kingdom.
Yeah. So what are the actual parts of the ceremony that you're worried would go and that you'd like to see kept in?
Well, when you're cutting off 2.5 hours, where do you begin? Well, but there are a lot of ancient ceremonies involving the peerage, but things like wearing the coronation robes. Normally, you had all the members of the House of Lords and the peers, the dukes and the earls, wearing their coronation robes, which are being held in storage. There's no cost involved in any of this. They're not being made anew. And now we're told perhaps it'll be just lounge suits. You know, I mean, if you're going to have a grand event, I've always used to say that the inauguration of a president in America is a cheap form of a coronation, really. Let's actually keep the grandeur that we have. Yeah. We saw the great glory of the Queen's funeral. Everybody loved the pomp and pageantry there. It will be a shame to lose part of that.
And will it be a big bank holiday weekend? It's the same weekend, isn't it, the Platinum Jubilee was this year. So next year it'll be a big sort of national party. Is that...
Yeah, we assume so. It's taking place on June the 3rd, a day after the coronation of Her Majesty the Queen. And actually it will be 70 years to the day plus 1 day after the Queen's own coronation.
I just want to ask you about the front cover of The Sun this morning. morning. They're talking about the Crown, which is about to come out on Netflix, which shows us a sort of segment about it, about Prince Philip pursuing an affair with Penny Natchbull. Lots of upset from royalists that this is disrespectful so shortly after the death of Her Majesty the Queen, whether it's true or not.
Yes, there had been some hope that saner heads would decide to perhaps delay the release of The Crown in some capacity. You know, the people have to realise The Crown is actually a work of fiction. And I've just been watching, you know, the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix documentary, and at the beginning they always say, this is a work of fiction based on historical events. Something like that sort of a disclaimer is well overdue for The Crown, because particularly in Canada and America and Australia, people watch that as if it's a documentary, and unfortunately they get to these...
They're going to be disappointed about James Bond, aren't they?